Alright, so we should be live as of now.
There it goes. Oh, I just got a notification. Yep, I got your sound.
And I've got the chat up on my stuff here too, so.
Good deal, so do I.
As long as I'm not echoing.
Nope,
I
I
can
don't.
hear me through you.
Nope, that was my phone.
Okay.
So that was me just bringing it up on the phone.
Awesome.
So we are good to go.
Yeah, first non-sim night in a week, and we're still talking about the league. So, this is what we do in our spare time. When we don't have a sim, we do this anyway.
Exactly.
Alright, so I'll wait a couple minutes and then we can... I'm not going to play the music this time because it cut off the first 4 minutes of our show due to copyright. And the last 4 minutes of the last show due to copyright. So...
I see. Haas has joined us, so Haas is already in.
I see. People are eager. Or maybe it's just Haas.
Haas is ready to rock.
And he wants us to pay attention.
I'll be manning the chat again, so don't worry. Smitty will go on his rants, and I'll man the chat.
Oh, I see him. I just choose not to. I see him. I just want to finish my point first, and then I will acknowledge after he's yelled at me 6 times.
Sometimes we don't know when that point is finishing.
Yes, this is true. You and me both. Let's put it that way. You would think I would know, but that would be a lie.
Why Haas says he'll have no one on this list. That's quite a guess, I would say at this point. We'll have to see, I guess.
Well, I can't tell you for sure because we don't know each other's list. We haven't discussed them. We always like them to be a surprise, so we could have 10 different people the way first base.
Oh my gosh, yes. So before we get into that, let's go ahead. You want to do some housekeeping then? Because It is 8:30 right now.
Absolutely. So, welcome, gentlemen and other gentlemen, to the episode 2 of the Duel. Again, as you heard, Andrew, BI, joining myself. We're going to be touching on a variety of topics today, but we just wanted to start off with a little bit of housekeeping, I guess. It's been, 3 weeks since the last opportunity we had to sit down and do a show.
Yep.
So, playoffs have happened, off-season has started. Hall of Fame voting is now active, and you've got basically 24 hours or so left to get your vote in, and we vote in-game. Stats Plus, the creators are telling me that Hall of Fame voting is coming. It's just not something that you can enable yet. So maybe in the future we'll be able to track some stuff and do all that sort of thing. But, yeah. Make sure you get out and vote.
Yes, rock the vote.
I don't care if you're, 5 people on the ballot, 10 people. I don't care. Just have your say. Put a vote in, because people complain about people not getting in, and it's like, well, that's because only half the league voted or something.
I complain every year.
Well, all of us complain every year, but how many of us actually voted is the question.
Well, Haas says he voted. Good man.
Yes. All right. So, I guess if you wanted to touch on some of the stuff that's happened since we last.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had a crazy playoffs. big, like, what was it in the championship series? Both games went 7 games, and then in the World Series, it was a crazy World Series. Smitty, I think you thought, I definitely thought you were done for.
Well, it went 7-2, and that's like, to have both the championship series go 7 and then the World Series go 7. I felt like this was the first time that all the stuff that I'm used to have happen to me was happening in my favor. So I thought maybe this was the year. But, down
And,
big to Minnesota, down big to Boston, finding a way to extend.
and the takeaway that I'm taking from that playoffs is that Boston bullpen that looked so great all year. Like he basically won 6 games versus Haas, and then he blew those games against you. Like, that was the key to me.
That would be super tough for me in this scenario, sitting here right now saying it was really good. But for 2 weeks, it just blew up.
Big time.
And does it need fixing? Do I tinker with it?
I don't think so. I don't think it does.
I wouldn't touch it. And
No,
that's
I just
weird to me.
Yeah, I just think it was one of those weird things once you get in the playoffs. Like, that was a downtime for them stat wise, and it just happened at the wrong time.
Feels good to be at the cool kids table.
Nice.
Get the gorilla off my back, and the goal is now just make it as hard for the conference as I possibly can. You got a guy at the top, and you're gonna have to scratch and claw and get up to my level and make me earn it. That's all I ask.
I like that. So, all right. So, you want to go ahead and we want to start getting into our list and going into the best first baseman again we would start a franchise with?
Sure. Only other thing I wanted to touch on.
Go ahead.
Was I wasn't sure if there was any signings or anything in particular that you've seen this off season that you wanted to make note of.
Okay, so let's see. Signings to make note of. The Bo did a Bo thing and paid an international free agent a lot of money for a long time. So that's Bo doing a Bo thing. He likes to gamble, so I can respect that. I don't think I would have gave that guy that much money just because of his attitude.
By the way, when we say Bo doing a Bo thing, that means spending money.
Yes,
it's just a Bo thing.
Bo likes to put the money in, and he definitely put it in with Archuleta.
Yeah, that's curious to me. He's obviously an excellent pitcher, but you're gambling on a guy with no track record. And I say this having done it in the past, but the guys that I've gambled on were 26.
Yeah.
This guy's a 33-year-old already, and you're giving him that kind of money. It'll be interesting I'll be watching him for sure. I think everybody will be keeping an eye on how that one goes.
Yeah, and then also to jump on like my signing, I signed Kelowna. I paid a lot of money, probably more than he's worth, but to me it's not as much of a risk. The guy, you and I kind of talked about this before the show started. For me, the guy is a captain. He fits my team, fits my park. So I was willing to give him probably more than he's worth, but I wanted to make sure that I had him.
I thought he'd probably get 19, 21, something in there. I thought 25 was a little high, but I can certainly understand.
I don't disagree that 25 was high, but I wanted to make sure that I had him.
Like, Kelowna is now the second highest paid player in the league.
Yep.
But he's a guy who's pitched really well for a long time.
And so the way I broke it down real quick for you guys is that, not try to explain myself, but the way I did break it down is I was already paying Wiley $20 million. Wiley's gone. And then, so to me, it was like, hey, do I pay $5 more million because I don't have to pay Wiley anymore? To me, it was like, am I willing to pay $5 more million for him? And I was. Sorry, Haas, I am mentioning him because he's mine now. He's a great pitcher, and he's not as good as Garcia. I'll pay Garcia $25 million if you want to do that, Haas. But but yeah, it was worth it for me to pay him $5 million.
Yeah, and that
basically.
Haas, that Garcia deal, isn't it going down for the rest of the contract?
I'm looking right now. Yes. No, it's not.
Because he
20.
kind
He
of
can
built it
opt
to a
out.
peak. He kind of built it to a peak, and then he gave him less. But yeah, and you put a vesting option in that 4th year, so that makes sense too.
Yeah. So if he, for me, you mean talking about my deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he gets hurt, so basically I'm he doesn't pitch the innings I need him to pitch, then hey, guess what? It's a 3-year deal, so I can live with that. Any other contracts that you want to talk about that have signed so far? Haas said he signed 37 minor leaguers.
Future superstars, I'm sure.
I like there's a lot of low end deals that I like. I like Taylor Lewis. I had an offer in on Taylor Lewis. I wouldn't mind to have him.
Yeah, Mexico's definitely prioritizing the pitching, obviously.
Chase Howell. I wouldn't have paid Chase Howell that much, but I think the market was dictating that. He had quite a few bidders. It looked like
it depends. To me, that contract depends on where BC feels they're at. Because if I was a team that was looking to make small incremental jumps, I probably wouldn't have signed a contract like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Howell is definitely a player that you can build around offensively because he can make contact, steal a ton of bases, and certainly a difference maker. So I don't blame him, and I know quite a few other teams, as you said, wanted him.
Yes, so, I know a couple teams that had put in bids, and then a couple teams that were thinking about putting in bids. So
I will never blame anybody. That's funny.
Yeah, I know. When you said BC, I was like, wait a minute, BC. So but then calling them Wombats is weird. It's just, it's a weird situation.
I should just call them Bulldog. I don't know.
There you go.
But I'll never be one, because of the style that I play. I'll never be one to criticize anybody that, if you want a guy and you think it makes sense, and you're willing to pay a little bit extra, go for it,
So yeah, and Haas said he tried for him. I didn't know that, but looking at it, the dude had 6 WAR. Was that just his career year? Because the highest he had before was 3.5. So is he going to come back to reality?
It was a contract year, so was he motivated by money he was going to get? Yeah. And now that he's got it, will he get lazy?
We'll have to see. All right. Well, do you want to go into our list of who we think are the best 5 shortstops? Look at me. I'm already jumping in. The best 5 first basemen to start a franchise with.
This will be an interesting one because
yes. Oh my gosh.
We don't know each other's lists, but we've talked about this and kind of said there are easily a dozen guys that could have ended up on this list. So we could end up with 9 or 10 different guys. So it'll be really interesting to see who went where and who's the honorable mention pile. And first base is a position where defense isn't always of the same priority. It's not a premium place, but we have talent at the top end in the majors, at the top end in the minors.
It's a very crowded position just with talent. Like I went through the list and I think I have 14 people on my list. I'm not going to name them all, but I had 14 people that I wrote down that I could say, yeah, I like this guy a lot. I wouldn't mind having this guy.
Yeah, I have 12. So it was like, okay, I have 12. Now let's cut that in less than half and see who I get yelled at by. That's going to be this episode.
Yeah, so you brought up a good point. When I'm focusing on, so again, it's who I want to start my franchise with, who fits my park. Not so much. I don't care as much about defense for my first baseman, but who fits my park, and basically who can slug. Who has a high OPS. So that's what I'm looking at.
I know it's the people that there's a lot of talent here, and I know we've said this to people before that listen to the last show and people that may not have. We can't stress enough, for every position that we do, this is not the top 5 absolute best at the position.
No,
This is the top 5. This is a guy I want to start my team. This is a guy that I would draft. This is a guy that I would develop. This is a guy that I would build an offense around. All that sort of stuff. This is a guy
jazz
that maybe isn't getting paid a whole lot of money,
could be. Yep,
consideration wise. So
we'll have to see.
we'll have to
So
think
yeah,
about.
I think our lists are going to be quite a bit different. So
Okay. So you want to go first with your number 5?
I will. So my number 5, I actually changed this probably about 6 times this afternoon
Yeah.
when I was going through my list.
I can say I redid my list 3 times today.
And I ended up going with this guy. The name is going to be Jared Bergbauer. He plays for the Saints. He is a left-handed bat. He's 26 years old, going into I think his first year of arbitration. Had 37 doubles last year and 30 home runs with an OPS of 922. So that WAR went crazy this year. It went all the way from negative .5 the year before, where he only played 43 games. It went all the way up to 4.7 this year. He's got a 3 rating at first base. Doesn't have the range. So again, how long is he going to stay at first base? Not sure. But for me, I like the guy. He fits my park.
Yeah. I definitely like him, and I will spoil this a bit here. He's my number 4 guy.
Oh, okay.
I would have put him higher if I didn't think he was probably a DH in about 4 years. But I really, really like him, and he's one of quite a few guys that I think kind of fall in that 23 to 27, 28 zone that can really slug and have found big league success too.
And I'm not sure, and I'll look while you're man in the main screen. What is the Saints Park like? It's not necessarily a home run park. It's below 1 for home runs
I'm
overall.
gonna check here on the main screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Home road splits, because I can still check those until tomorrow. He was a 346 hitter on the road with 17 home runs.
Did a lot more damage.
266 at home, 13 homers.
So he did
80 points.
He did his damage on his OPS. Yeah, or that was versus right. He crushes right, which you would expect. But yeah, good guy.
So I definitely don't disagree with the pick here.
All right, do you want to do your number 5 then?
Sure. So first base list is a little different for me because my top 5 catchers, all of them were already in the majors, and I didn't feel like there was the minor league talent there quite yet. First base, I feel a little differently. There's a lot of top end first base talent, but I also think I'd be more willing to bet on the younger talent at a position like first base. So for number 5, and I'll get him up on the main screen here, I picked Tommy Kurlander, who's a prospect in the Rochefort system.
I have Tommy Kurlander on my honorable mention. He's definitely somebody up there.
Tommy Kurlander, 4th round pick in 2023.
Man, that was a great draft.
Yeah. And he went directly to Double-A after college and hit 339. So he immediately hit and has continued to hit. And in his second year in Triple-A, he hit 323. And
So so my question is Tommy going to be the first baseman this year? Is Redden going to go to DH and Tommy's going to come up and be the first baseman?
that's a good question because he had Riggs before and he kind of replaced 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I
Yes.
think he's trying to make room for him. I would agree that he's probably the first baseman this year, and he's already had 2 years in AAA where he's hit over 300. At
He's
what
almost like the all-time WAR leader in AAA. Probably he's
at,
got
at what
almost 10 WAR.
at what point is it diminishing returns? I know he's
Yeah,
only 23, but he's proven that he can produce everywhere but the majors. Eventually, he's gonna get bored.
interesting. The scouts don't. We see a lot of first basemen that the scouts blow up on that they're like, oh, this guy's going to be great. It says he could be a second division starter, so they're not extremely high on him.
No,
I like him.
no, I look at the minor league track record, and 3 years of college and 3 years of minor league ball, and he's never hit below 303. So
No,
that's the type of guy that I want.
I can't argue with that one. Can't argue at all.
I'll let you do your number 4 because mine's already been spoiled with Bergbauer.
So my number 4 is, we talk about this, and I treat it a little bit differently with this list than I do with my catcher list. You mentioned your route of, hey, I'm more willing to go on the prospect side with my top players that I would choose. I'm willing to go more the other way on some of these guys. And so my number 4 is Mike Riggs. Is my number 4. If I was going to start a franchise right now, I know he's 29.
Now,
Oops, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember because Mike Riggs has moved in the last.
He's on door.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So he's 29. He's about to be 30. I'm thinking I'm going to get 5 more years out of him at first, maybe even more, because he's got a 5 rating at first base, and the power. He fits my park. The power numbers are crazy. The OPS of 986. Yeah, I would definitely take Mike Riggs, and he's my number 4.
He's probably. Well, we had a first baseman win MVP last year, so I'm gonna say him. I'm gonna say it. I think he's probably, in his current situation, especially going to a hitter's park like Door County will be.
Well, he was already in a hitter's park, though. To be fair.
Yes, but he's going to basically Great American Ballpark mock-up,
Yes.
which is just bandbox. He led the league in home runs and RBIs last year. I had him on my honorable mention list because he was 29.
I'm okay with it.
But, that's just...
This guy is Haas's Katy Perry. He's the one that got away. Haas,
for a rental.
I can tell you this. In my career playing against Haas, he doesn't make many mistakes when he trades. Like, there's very few that, Haas would tick off the box and say, I lost that one. I made a mistake.
And I remember talking to him during this trade because he was trading for a rental second baseman because his guy got injured. And he said, I have a surplus of right fielders, so I'm just going to give him whichever one he chooses. And,
and BC brought up a great point, too. So not only is he playing in his friendly park, he gets to play 18 games in Mexico, and now... Or not 18, but he gets to play 9 games in Mexico and 9 games in Charm.
Yeah. So he's got 100 games a year.
That's nuts. This dude's... He's going to put up 60. He's going to break that.
He very
60.
well could. What's the record?
It's 50-something.
55?
I was looking at it earlier. We're dead ball era.
Was it Reyes? Well, we're in a bunch of parks that just don't do that.
57. Reyes hit 57 and 18.
That's right. 57. So,
speaking of which, Hall of Fame plug. Only one player has ever hit 50 home runs twice in a season. I'll let you kids guess that one.
Well, I put up the leaderboard on the main screen, so maybe they can guess. I don't know.
He's currently not in the Hall of Fame.
Currently not in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Huh.
Don't tell me to shut up, BC. You gotta love this guy. Anyway, let's move on. So your number 4 was Bergbauer,
Uh-huh.
which obviously that's no disagreement on my end or anything. He's my number 5, so I could definitely see him go number 4. Why don't you go
Is
ahead
that
and
a
do your?
Cunningham plug and I just didn't get it?
It was a Cunningham plug.
Okay. He's mad at me because I didn't vote for Cunningham because I said he only played half of baseball.
The dude is what is he like? What did I tell you? OPS. He's top 10 all time in OPS. Top 10.
It's the same reason I'm not supportive of Edgar Martinez in the Hall of Fame. He's
Well,
not
that's your.
athletic to play the second half of baseball, then
But my guy did play. He did play. He
he
did play the
existed.
field. No, he played the field. He didn't DH. He played the field. He just
Uh-huh.
didn't play it well.
He didn't add value.
I'd take a Cunningham all day. Anyway, so let's do your number 3. Let's get
All
off
right.
my Cunningham tangent.
Number 3, I have Brian Lampman in Boston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where's my crazy button?
Crazy.
Brian Lampman is your number 3?
Yep.
You need to explain yourself, sir.
Okay. I should preface this by saying I voted him for Platinum Stick this year. But to me, not every position is about power. I just see the value in. There's a lot of first basemen that can hit the ball a mile and strike out a lot. The 3 true outcome guys: walk, strikeout, base hit. The Aaron Judges of the world. There's not a lot of guys in this league, especially not at the position that Lampman plays, that can be an RBI producer, can be a high average guy, and can avoid striking out a lot.
Wow. I did not expect that.
Oh, that's good. That's our first real, I guess.
So I told you I made a list of 14. Lampman is number 14 for me.
Aha.
So
but I look at, something like Lampman's rookie season. He struck out 22 times in 468 plate appearances and hit 323.
Haas just said you only like him because he's an avid fisherman. He's a good fisherman.
I don't even like fishing.
Well, you must. Lampman. I am very surprised that he made the top 5.
Mm.
If you said he's like my number 10, I could agree with that. I think you're a little crazy for top 5.
I like him a lot. I think there's very few first basemen that can put up the kind of contact numbers while also avoiding the strikeouts like he can. And if I was looking for a first baseman on my team, he would be near the top of the list.
Well, all right, sir. You want to play that game? We can play that game.
And he's 26, so he's kind of not a prospect anymore, but certainly get several good years left.
So I'm going to do you one better. So you want to play that game? We can play that game. We kind of talked about this beforehand. My number 3 is Daniel Perrier, my guy from my team, my third baseman, who from now on is going to be a first baseman. He's intelligent, so it's not going to take him long to learn it. He's going to have the range, the air, the arm, the DP, so he's going to have better fielding stats than most first basemen, and he's going to hit even more and not strike out much either. So there you go.
I certainly, understand why you did that, but as I told you off the air, I knew Perrier was going to be a first baseman, but I disqualified him because he hasn't learned it yet. He hasn't played a game there yet. So
Coming from a former first baseman, it doesn't take much to learn it. You throw
with
the ball to him, you catch it.
with so many other possible options, a dozen other guys, I want to actually pick a guy who's actually ever played first base.
Okay, so you want to play that game? We can play that game. Look at. Could you please tell the crowd what his WAR was last year?
6.8.
What would his WAR have been had he been a first baseman?
Probably 8 ish.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So there you go. That's why he's up there
Well,
because he's going to be up there.
I think he would probably be number one on my list next year, but that's not when we're doing this list.
Yeah. Well, see, I have hindsight. I know that he's going to first base, and he's going to be the first baseman of our future.
Okay. Well, I wish you luck. I hope he succeeds. He's a draft pick of mine, so I like him a lot. He's just he has a 0 career rating at first base, so I chose not to pick him.
Haas, you stay out of it. And plus, Haas, if you had to choose first base, do you want Lampman or do you want Perrier? Tell me now. Who do you want at first base? I'll wait for it in the chat, but we can move on. But Perrier is my number 3. If I'm starting a franchise, I can. So our list, and so yes, he wasn't a first baseman last year. That's correct. But what does our list say, Smitty? What is this list about?
People that you would build a franchise around.
Thank you. End of discussion. You know that if Daniel Perrier was sitting out there, you would say, hey, he's not a third baseman, but you know what? I could make him a first baseman, and he's probably a top 3 first baseman.
I'd play him at second base, but that's beyond. Because I have a good first baseman.
You do. I don't. So there we go. So I stick by my list. End of discussion.
All right. I think you're getting enough hate from everybody else, so
I'm fine. I'm fine. When he has 8 to 9 WAR next year, we can talk.
Well, as I said, next year.
Now I'm starting my franchise this year, though.
Yeah.
So he's going to be he's my number 3 first baseman that I would start my franchise with.
Okay. And I wouldn't qualify him because I don't consider him a first baseman yet because he doesn't know how to do it yet.
He can do it. It's like falling off a bike. Anybody
can do it, but he's got to learn it first.
All right. So now we've had controversy both at number 3. I think yours is more controversial than mine, but the crowd doesn't agree.
I hope he has 40 years.
Yeah, and he'll have, you know what? He'll have 40 years and
if
60
he has
doubles.
40 balls hit to him by the end of the season.
He'll have 60 doubles. I love Haas's last comment. Pick Manny Garcia. Oh, that was great. He's a first baseman. He's going to do great. You guys just love him. You're going to love him.
All right. More controversy from me, so I'm glad you got him in a fighting mood.
Good. All right, you want to do your number 2?
Number 2, Kyle Tribbett.
Oh, wow. Wow. How much did Doug pay you?
Paid me nothing, but if
you're starting a franchise, your number 2 first baseman you take is Kyle Tribbett.
Yes. Because I believe he has shown the ability to be ready already.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Same 2023 draft. That draft is just...
I agree. I will agree with you that draft was amazing.
345 in AA, and I think he's already ready. I encourage Doug not to use him because Doug likes to play with the shiny toys, and that's a bad idea. I redid this list about 3 times, and I had Bergbauer all the way up the list, and I looked at guys. I did look at Riggs. You know, there's a whole bunch of guys in my honorable mention list, but he's got, 5 defense at first base, 5 K potential, 5 contact potential. I think he is a pure year who actually knows how to play first.
So so let's go back to all right. I'm not going to pick on it too much because he's on my honorable mention, nowhere in the top 5 yet. Because I mean, I do see potential there, but if you are managing Trivet right now, do you do you bring him up this spring, and if he does well, he stays?
I bring him up in spring training this year, give him an invite, and regardless of how he does, send him to AAA.
You would really?
Yes.
So if he hit 400 in spring with 10 home runs, and you would still send him to AAA?
Yes, I would.
I wouldn't.
Because he just turned 22, and I'd be a little bit nervous about pushing the issue.
Oh, I would. I would. If he does great, he's staying for me.
I I wouldn't blame you for doing that. That's just not how I would approach it. I think he's 18 months from being a franchise player.
And Haas, I know you say spring training stats mean nothing, and I don't disagree with that, but he's got the other stats that build on that for me. So it's not just the spring training stats. If some guy comes out of nowhere and just has good spring training stats, I don't really care as much. But he has double A stats that go along with it.
Shots fired? What did I do? I called him a pure here who can actually play at the position.
I like how we're split here though. Haas is with you, spring training, then AAA, no matter what. BC's with me. He thinks he's ready. If he does that, and if he did that in Double A, he's ready.
I just worry that Doug would look at his spring training stats. He does really well. He'll play 2 months in the bigs, hit 220, and then Doug will trade him and regret it for the rest of his life.
Oh, he'll regardless, he'll die in Doug's parks. Home run wise, he'll still get contact and gap and avoid Ks, but he won't be a normal like power first baseman in Doug's park.
He'll have real fun playing in Rochefort when he's 26.
Oh, Haas has good questions. He never played more than 76 games. Why?
Because he's split between
levels. Okay. I didn't even look.
Because 76 short A, that's basically their season. And then last year he split half the season in A ball, half the season in Double A.
That makes sense. Okay. Okay, so that was your number 2.
Yes.
I had him as my number 10-ish right now. So,
I didn't rank my honorable mentions, but we'll get to all of them.
Okay. My number 2 is Robert McCosco. So, BC, I know you mentioned you might like my list again now. We'll see. But I definitely like this guy. A switch hitter. I have a fancy for switch hitters. This dude pretty much came out of nowhere last year, had a 1 WAR, so only played 40 games though, but then 49 home runs in that park. My park is like BC's, only on a little bit more steroids. I don't like the strikeout numbers as much. Hopefully that can go down a little bit more, but that's kind of what a first baseman does. He's walking more than he probably should be as well, so that's good. And then the 4 first base, so he can field the position. And he had an OPS of 961 last year.
Well, thanks for spoiling my top pick.
So that's your number 1?
Yeah, he's my number 1 guy.
Can you explain why he's your number 1?
In a lot of the ways that you mentioned, he's got power, he's a switch hitter, he's a young guy, but he's also shown probably the highest ceiling and the highest potential of anybody of that age. And he's, going to be controllable for another 5 or so years. So if
Correct.
he can build off of that success, he's got the average, he's got the home run, he's got the defense, he hits switch, and he's only 23. So if there was any first baseman in this league that I wanted, that I knew that I could stick at first base and have him produce for the next decade, potentially, it's him.
Yeah, he's definitely great. And I, was battling on where I was going to put him. And yeah,
Scowl just means he's competitive, Haas. I'm cool with the scowl.
I like how BC. I do appreciate how you jumped on the list now, and they're pretty awesome list. These guys know what they're doing. At
Yeah.
first, it was they don't know jack shit, and then now it's like, oh, they know what they do. They're
I could
doing.
have picked Manny Garcia second, and he still would have loved my list.
I,
It's great.
yeah. So this guy is amazing. He's definitely up there. So I know you spoiled your number one. Do you want to do some honorable mentions? Or I spoiled your number one. Do you want to do some honorable mentions real quick, and we can hit them pretty fast?
Sure, and a lot of them you'll already know.
Okay.
I
So do your first one, and then we'll kind of just go through them, and I'll say if I have them or not.
well, I put Riggs there. I put
Okay.
Parrish there.
Okay.
I put Zach Robinson there.
Zach Robinson was my sixth. So yep, he was on the border for me.
Jimmy Young in
Jimmy Young was
Boston.
on the border for me.
Ross Samuels in Minnesota.
I had Ross Samuels as well. Right, you're pretty much going in my order here. So we're
Um, Danny Hensley in Boulder.
I had Danny on my list.
So yeah, I got.
I had your guy Garcia on my list.
Oh,
I liked him.
Ignacio Garcia. Okay.
I
I
like
had my
Garcia.
starter, Mr.
I
Holloway.
had I had Jim Kincaid on my list,
Mm-hmm.
which was a former player of mine. I had Lampman at number 14. Surprisingly enough, and maybe it's not surprising, but I didn't hear him from you. But to me, it's the same way. I think is what your thoughts are. I did not have Redden on my list because I don't view him as a first baseman anymore. He
Yeah,
wasn't first baseman last year, really.
he was in that conversation for kind of number 5 spot, and I thought, with so much talent at the position, I think you're right. I don't really consider him premium at the position anymore, even though he can hit.
Yeah, if I'm doing my list of top DHs, I know he hasn't. I know he hasn't trained at DHs according to BC and Old Hoss, but you know what? I think he can play DH. I don't think he needs to train much at it. I think he can field the DH position.
Yeah, I think he'll be very happy in his lawn chair, and we'll give him a broomstick and see what he can do.
Well, that Hoss. So I that's what I'm saying. I'm saying going forward, he's not a DH to me. So I'm not, or he's not a first baseman to me. So he's not making my list of first baseman. Purier is.
Well,
Redden's a DH.
Well, both of them didn't make my list, so we know who the smarter one is here.
All right. So you ready for my number one?
Sure.
So my number one is Parrish. I know he's what is he? He's already 30 years old, but if I'm willing to put Riggs in there, I'm putting Parrish in there as well. Parrish has a track record. Parrish had a crazy year last year. I know he's going to make a lot of money, but I can give up money at certain places. And for me, I want home runs. I want doubles. I want OPS. Look at his last 3 years OPS.
League leading.
Yes, over 1. So 1.026, 1.008, 1.70. So, and how much longer can he do that? I think he can do that for a little bit longer. I'm not that worried about it, and he can still play first base probably for the next 5 to 6 years.
I'll give him 4. I'll give
Okay.
him 4 years. But for me, if I'm building a franchise, I think you get 2 more years of prime, and then he starts the descent. I love the personality. I love the talent. I think he's a great player, but I'm looking for a guy when I'm building a franchise that I can set and forget.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying. I feel like he can still have it. So I did that plug of, hey, Cunningham's in the top 10 of OPS. Well, guess who number 2 is, almost number 1 of all time? Josh Parrish is.
And that's the same as the Miguel Reyes draft, too, I think. So that draft was really, really good. But I look at that situation and go, if somebody was looking to push all in and win, Parrish is a fantastic
Parrish is who I'm going
player. It's getting paid $25 million right now. But
I
I'm
can live
more
with
in the
that.
business of can I put a guy at a position for 10 years and not have to move him, not have to worry about him? And Parrish was just a little too old to make my cut.
I understand the way that you went with it. I can't argue with that. I'm saying I'm going to get 6 years out of this guy. And the 4 of those years are going to be monster years, I think.
He'll probably, he made my honorable mention list, and he'll probably be the only 30-plus guy to make it because of how good he is. I'm just looking for that younger core, that younger group. But I don't fault you for picking probably the most offensively talented guy in the entire league.
Yeah, and as far as, WAR goes, I mean, he is a first baseman, and he's already number 66th all time.
Yeah, and I think he'll be well near the top of that list.
But being first base, he's not going to make it up top 10, maybe? Maybe he can. He's already at 41.
First base, I think he could because he's not having to worry about...
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Other things.
That's a fair point.
He's not out there running around playing center field or shortstop.
No, I can't argue with that, but I do think that...
It's like that old quote from Moneyball. We're going to teach you first base. That's not hard, is it? It's incredibly hard.
Exactly. So yeah, he's my number one. I'm glad you did have Moscaso on there. I didn't know if you were going to or not. You had me a little nervous. So our lists aren't that far apart. We had, what did we have? 2 of the same? Yeah. Bergbauer and Cascos.
New promotion for ABC.
Yeah, Cascos. Come on down to Robert McCosco's Cascos.
Selling the Costco hot dogs at the ballpark.
There you go. So yeah, that's our list. I mean, any other thoughts on first base?
It's just a position where I think
oh my gosh, yes,
everybody in the league, either major league or minor league, can be confident in at least one guy that they have.
And it's one of those positions where you go out there and you say, "Hey guys, I got a first baseman," and they're like, "Okay, great, yeah, we all have first baseman." Mm-hmm. Like if you're trying to move it, like they're like, "Okay, yeah, we all have first baseman."
Mm-hmm. And I've gone out and spent on first baseman before, but that's because I needed offensive production, and I went, okay, what's the easiest position to get power out of, and what does everybody have the most of? Supply and demand.
Yes.
First base.
Well, that's why if you look at the Riggs trade, do you think that he got a crazy deal for moving Riggs? I don't think so. I mean, he got rid of a bad contract.
Considering it's a guy who... I think the bad contract was more important.
Yeah.
Because he's got Kurlander, and he ended up getting Redden. He traded a bad contract and a guy who led the league in home runs and RBIs for, a second-round pick and a couple of average-ish prospects?
Yeah, exactly. So that just shows you how, let's say, diluted the first baseman market is. There's so much talent there. I mean, that's what, so one of my guys on my honorable mention, Jim Kincaid, I just didn't have a spot for him. So I pretty much just gave him away.
I think both of us said previously we each had 7 or 8 guys, valid argument as to putting them on there. We feel bad leaving them off, but a top 5 is a top 5. I think we'll probably do a top 10 for starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it's we have to stick to the cut line.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and I would definitely say that versus catcher, catcher you had your couple really, really top guys, and then a couple guys that were pretty good, and then it just dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
This list is really from top to bottom. You can make probably a list of 20 guys that you'd be like, yeah, I'm okay with that guy playing first for me.
Yeah,
I have no issue with that.
I think out of the 5 catchers that we had 4 of the same guys.
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe one guy that was different. I think I had Casanova, and you had him like 6th or 7th. So it wasn't really it was kind of a narrower focus, keyhole the position. Whereas first base, it's like it depends what you look for, depends how you feel about age, as we've said. This was one of the lists that was hardest to make because
Oh, yes.
you could never feel quite confident in your decision making. In that, it's like, well, I put them in this order, but like I've had this list for a couple weeks. Like I did it right after the last show, and then we hadn't gotten a chance to record, and I kept reordering it and shuffling guys around. Like, do I really feel confident in him as my number 4 guy and my number 3 guy? And so it was like I could see an argument for 15 guys, as you said. So I won't fault anybody who tries to do this.
Yeah, no, definitely. And speaking of funny point, so you're on Haas's screen, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, I
So
can be.
yeah, so just go to his main page. And when I first saw this, because I was looking at both first base current and then also like, hey, what first baseman are prospects that could be coming up. Look at he's got Pootie Tang. Actually, it's Patty saying, but I was like, hey, Pootie Tang might be pretty good too.
Well, Haas likes nicknames.
There you go.
So I think we just found one.
Yeah, I think his name should just be changed to Pootie Tang.
I think
it's
that
close
should be
enough.
the show title. Episode 2.
The Adventures of Pootie Tang.
Yep. So
Wombats just asked if a 30-year-old is someone you build a team around. If it's Parrish, I'm not saying that he's my cornerstone.
It depends how much more you think you're going to get out of him.
Yes.
And the answer for me to that is, 4 years, and do I want to pay him $25 million to do it? Not if I'm using him as the main piece.
So let's say the draft started right now. Where do you think he falls? Do you think he's a first rounder?
I think
I think so.
20.
Yeah, I would say he's probably. Yeah, I mean your catchers, your shortstops, your center fielders, but then somebody's going to say they're going to see that production. And he's going to go in that first round.
Yeah, I want to win immediately. I don't care about developing so much, and this is a guy who's had 35 plus homers the last 4 years, and we give him a bit of crap because of the lineup he plays in is surrounded him so well, but it's evidently clear that he is a fantastic player and has the best eye in the league, probably. 440, 421, 424 OBP the last 3 years. So he's going to be a factor, and he's one of those guys that could very well be, a Marcos Luna, hashtag vote for Hall of Fame, that could play till he's 37 and still be a good DH, like a Sedberry or something.
No, I agree.
It all depends.
I agree. I definitely he's a first round pick. So
I think he probably is, but it all depends on the strategy of people. People like to go young.
That's just wrong. That's outlawed in a lot of countries and states now, Smitty.
Well, I live in Canada.
Good point. So anything you want to wrap this up with? What do you want to talk about?
The two of us are the ones here talking about kids, so
that's true.
I don't know how I feel about this whole thing.
And I go to sleep every night. This is a guarantee. I go to sleep every night thinking about fake guys. Every night I go to sleep thinking about fake guys.
Yep. Sometimes you just lose sleep over those thoughts.
For sure. All right. So anything else you want to touch on? Second base is next, right? We're going the positions.
Going around the diamond. So I'm not sure when the next show will be. It all depends kind of on how your schedule matches up with mine.
Don't Don't forget another plug if you guys watch this later to do your Rule 5s because we're drafting
Please,
tomorrow.
please, please, please. Because I
Yes.
always, 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 never fails. I get one person yelling at me going, "What the heck happened to this guy? And
Oh,
you didn't protect him. Well, I
as
gotta
a
trade him back."
commish, we love that, don't we? When somebody goes, "What happened to my guy? Why was he not? Why was he picked?"
Oh yeah, it never happens. Never
We love
ever.
it.
So when it happens, it's such an unusual occurrence for us.
So yes, protect your guys.
We
There's a
love the
lot.
fan mail.
Yes, there's a lot of guys, good guys out there that need to be protected. And I think what we'll probably do too is once we get to a certain stage, we may message a few. Hopefully, the messengers are up and working. A few guys say, "Hey, make sure you protect your guys. They're free game." I mean, we don't like to hold hands, but we also don't like to see teams be crippled. So,
Yeah, we'll definitely be looking around, going, "Okay, this is a guy that obviously should be protected."
yep.
So what's our situation here? But yeah, that's tomorrow night. That's
It
tomorrow
is
night.
tomorrow night. Yes.
And then we've got a few more sims. We sim 2 spring training on Saturday.
I love spring training.
And then we have, I know people that love it and people that hate it. It all depends.
I love it. Well, I think I'm becoming one of those people that hate it more because in the past, I kind of was always in the middle, so it was always I had a bunch of battles and like, okay, let's see if this guy does well finally. Now I'm getting to where I have more of a set team and I don't want my guys to get hurt, so that's more what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So, I mean, we sim there Saturday, off day Sunday, spring training Monday, Tuesday, off day Wednesday, and then we get the Thursday, Friday sim double to start. So that's the 16th and the 17th.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Is opening day and week 2. This is the rare occurrence where we'll get back-to-back sims opening night. So people will get a dozen games in and then get an idea of how badly the sky is falling after 12 games.
Doug will put up the sale signs.
Yeah. They'll be in the window. They'll be in the window in February. Who are you kidding?
Rebuilding since 2017.
No, it's never constructed since 2017.
We just kid, Doug. Just kidding.
He hates when I take shots at him, but
yeah, that's what the league's for.
I'm living in a mansion, painting rooms, and he's building his hut.
All right, so
fill it
anything
to the
else
brim
you
with
want to add?
prospects, and then move them for other prospects.
There you go. Anything you want to else add before we close up shop today?
No, I would just say that thanks for coming, guys. We really appreciate the feedback from everybody. And as we said, second base will be the next topic, and we'll go through all the positions. And we also want to kind of look at an analysis at eventually, I think, of how we play the game, how we operate, and make sure this is educational and entertaining and edutaining for folks and provide as much value to the league as we can. So we appreciate you guys coming out.
Definitely. And definitely like when you guys argue. Don't get us wrong. We enjoy that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You don't. We like to argue back and forth to a degree, and we like it when you guys jump in with
Part
it
of the
too,
gimmick is getting you guys riled up. We just do it to annoy you guys. But yeah, thanks for coming out, and hopefully it will be less than 3 weeks before our next one, but I'll try and keep you guys posted and post the day of or the day before we do our next show and give them a look.
Great.
And I'll be posting this on YouTube probably tomorrow or as soon as I can. And making my list after the show because I'm going to obsess over second baseman now. That's what I do.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See you guys.